How's Florian Fürth, and have you got a timescale as to when he might be available for selection again?
Not anything different than what I said after the game. The game tomorrow will probably come too soon, and maybe the game in the weekend as well. But let's see how that ends up. But we hope to have him back somewhere next week, maybe earlier, maybe a bit later. But that timescale.
Just wanted to compare a couple of decisions that we've seen lately. Obviously, we saw the situation where Gay appeared to pull back Mo Salah when he played Manchester City. Yesterday, when Manchester United played Crystal Palace, we saw a foul on the edge of the box into the penalty area, penalty awarded, and a red card given in that situation. Obviously, the Gay pullback, there wasn't.
Was not a red card. No. Yeah.
How do you compare them?
Very comparable. The only difference is that Mo was pulled by the shirt and here was a hand on the shoulder. If I look at it, I see a similar distance. Maybe even the distance between Gay and Diaz was even a bigger distance than the distance between both centre-backs of Palace. But I would try to ask you, check this for me, please. Let's see if it's the similar distance or is more or less. So the moment when I saw it, because I saw it live, I thought, knowing what has happened with us in that situation, VAR is probably checking if it is even a penalty or if it's in or outside the box. But he will never, ever give a red card for this. And this is what I sometimes hold against VAR, because every time when the Premier League comes in, they tell me that there was only 2 wrong decisions over a whole season. But I hold this against VAR. You are expecting, because in both situations it's a VAR interference. So 9 out of 10 times in football, there's the difference between referee has given a red card. Okay, I stay away from it. I accept his decision. Or referee did nothing. I stay away from it because I accept his decision. But in both situations, the referee did not give a red card, and in one situation he overturned it to a red card. That is, for me, either one of the two is a mistake. So then when you come in the end of the season, you have to say, okay, we made more than only 1 or 2 mistakes. But what they mean with a mistake is if the VAR overturned it in the wrong way. Yeah, I can expect that there indeed 2 is already a lot then. Surprisingly, this was a red card. No, this was not surprisingly a red card. This is for me a red card, because I said so many times that it was clear for me that the one from Quay was a red card as well. But I wasn't backed up by everyone. I wonder, what did the panel say? Do we know? I think the panel said afterwards that the correct decision is made by. So yeah, we're expecting the panel now to say 5 times wrong decision made by VAR and a referee.
What frustration then is there if you see in
of course there's a frustration, because that's not the first time. This is such a clear example because it happened so short ago that you are now. Ooh. But I would like you to remember on the goal disallowed from us at City, the header, and 1 week later we played against Forest, or 2 weeks, I don't know, and exactly the similar situation, and the goal was allowed. So it's not for the first time, but I've said also many times we have to make sure that we don't depend on these decisions. We're better than that, and we just win our games by being so good that even if decisions go against you, which sometimes happen in football, I'm not saying since I'm here for 1.5 years everything has gone against us, that's not true. But sometimes decisions go against you and you have to make sure that it doesn't hurt you.
Since the game against City, though, it's a 100% record, and it feels like you've got Champions League qualification in your own hands now. How do you see it, particularly when last 4 games of the season you've got United, Chelsea, Villa and Brentford?
Yeah, what an impact it could have had if the right decision was made for our position in league, but also what that would mean to the league table, not only for us, but I think other clubs were hoping that that would have been a red card as well. We are playing Wolves tomorrow, and they've shown recently that they do much better, or getting more results from what they deserve, because I think throughout the whole season they've hardly been beaten by big goal differences. So that tells you that they're a competitive team throughout the whole season, and recently they pick up points and even a win against Villa. So we know that we again are going to face a difficult game tomorrow.
I suppose it's quite an unusual situation playing against the same team twice in 3 days. What challenges does that provide for you as a manager, particularly with things like selection?
It's not unusual that we play 3 games in 7 days for us. That's probably the 4th or 5th time this season that we have to do this. Does it bring a challenge maybe for the second game a little bit more, because then you know even better what to expect? But that I also like, mainly that I like on Champions League, because the first time you play each other, mainly in Champions League, you don't play each other that much. So it's a bit new, but the second time you can prepare your team even better. Especially if the team does the same, the team you face does the same again. So, but now being in the Premier League, we played them already once. You see a lot of games of them because they play against teams that we are facing as well. You know each other that well that I don't see that much difference between playing each other twice in 3 days or that there's a longer period in between.
Saw the importance of set pieces again in the Premier League over the weekend. There's so much sort of grappling and holding at corners. Does that need to be looked at, or is it impossible to police that?
No, not everywhere you see that holding, but indeed in some games you see that a lot in set pieces. I said after the game we played, I said something about the difference between us and Arsenal, going from 23 goals, including penalties, being down, and us scoring 3. I said probably we will now make the gap a bit smaller. But it was only 1 goal difference because they scored twice. Yeah, it is the new reality of the Premier League, mainly this season. Last season already a little bit, but mainly this season. And yeah, indeed, in some games you see a lot of fouls being made, and sometimes you also see very nice corner kicks being scored.
You're really well positioned now in the race for the Champions League places, and we're coming into the final quarter of the season. How do you assess things? I mean, you said a few weeks ago the record would have to be almost perfect, and even if the performances haven't been, the results certainly have. Can you feel it, things beginning to turn in your favour, and maybe that will give an added inner confidence to the players with so much having gone against them before that?
No, the last thing is definitely true, what you are saying, that so many things have gone against us this season. In terms of performances, I think only the first half against Forest was not of our standards. For all the other games, I think we've played to our standards, or what is there to expect currently in the Premier League, because it's not like every game is as if we're watching Barcelona 10 or 15 years ago or watching the Premier League 4 or 5 years ago. It just has changed. How entertaining it is because of playing styles. We are well placed now, but 2 weeks ago you didn't ask that question, but you could have asked the question. You're not so well placed, so things can change really fast, depending also who you play yourself, who the other teams play. We're really close together with a few teams, and things can change every single match day because of who you face yourself and who the other team is facing. So we, as all the other teams do as well, focus on our next game, on ourselves. And we know that every game has been difficult for us throughout the whole season. And that's what we expect in the upcoming 10 as well.
Given the problems that you've had in the right back position, how important can it be between now and the end of the season to have Jeremy Frimpong back fit again? And we know how influential he can be. He can be a game changer for you on occasion. So how important can he be, and how difficult, given his recent record with injuries, how do you manage that?
I don't think the only position we struggled was the right fullback position. I think it's been in more positions, but right fullback is probably the one that stands out most. Having Jeremy back is really nice, but indeed what you are saying does go through your mind because of the fact we play 3 games in 7 days. Because if we play Galatasaray, we have the early kickoff afterwards in Brighton, 12:15. So those things you all have to take into account, especially with players who come back from injuries. But we also know the importance of every single game, and that is a challenge. Performance staff, the player himself, the manager has, but I'm not the only one who has that. I prefer to have this problem, to manage how many minutes do I have to give him, than to see him with the medical staff doing his recovery.
I know you said in the past that goals aren't the only metric you judge players by, but just wondered how important that goal was for Cody the weekend, because he was coming under a bit of scrutiny for in terms of his output. You said on Friday that when we talked about Mo that he wasn't the only one on the forward line who wasn't scoring. So particularly for Cody, how important was that goal for his confidence?
Now, as you correctly say, I don't judge them only on the goals they score. I judge them on different things as well. So attackers are also judged on the fact if we keep a clean sheet. As defenders are judged by the fact if we can score from open play, because they have to create promising situations for our attackers. But for our attackers, I know how they think and what they want, and that is scoring goals. So I was happy because I think it was the 4-1, if I'm correct. Yeah, it was the 4-1. So that gave us even a more comfortable cushion, but even more happy for him to score because I think he needed that goal, as you correctly say.
Have you noticed then that his confidence was struggling? You say he needed that goal. Have you tried to boost that confidence?
No, I don't think his confidence was gone or away or whatever in that regard. But I did saw a few times recently that he made maybe different decisions than I'm used of him, and that doesn't always have to mean that it's a lack of confidence. But I think when players are not scoring at a certain longer and longer, they start to think more about direction, and thinking is usually not the best way to. Yeah, that's not completely true. You need to think, but overthinking is not the best thing you can do. But I think that's something different than confidence, because these players, if it's Cody or Mo or whoever they are, they know that they can have a certain spell without scoring, but they know they've had this before in their careers. They will eventually start scoring again. But there are periods of time where you don't put that much effort in, but the ball just falls to you and you can score. And there are periods of time in your career where you try so hard. Trying too hard or overthinking is usually not the best thing to score a goal.
When Wolves played against Arsenal and Aston Villa recently, their setup was quite narrow. They looked to congest the centre of the pitch, and considering you're going to be missing a creative talent in the centre like Wurtz, does that put more emphasis on the wider areas to kind of create some creativity?
No, I don't think Wolves is an exception to that. I think all the teams, but that is not this year for the first time. All the teams try to protect the center. Why? Because the goal is in the middle. So it's quite smart to protect the middle as much as you can. So there's a lot of you rely a lot, especially if you have the ball a lot and you face low blocks. You rely a lot on your combination play on the sides. So fullback, winger, with the help sometimes of a midfielder. And I think that has become clear in modern football that wingers, fullbacks, are very influential in open play chance creation. Yeah.
Do you think that might have an influence on whether or not you do use Jeremy Frimpong for this game? Someone who has that trickery, and as you said before, is very good in one-on-one situations.
Yeah, no, that definitely goes through my mind. But the other thing is, we spoke about Jeremy, but we can also say the same about Joe Gomes, who's been out for a while, played 75 minutes for the second time. The last start he had before this weekend was against West Ham 3 or 4 months ago. So these are all the things which is our situation this season. And in the meantime, I think the players handled that really well.
Hi, Arne.
Dominic or Milos, who is it this time?
Pardon me?
Dominic or Milos, who is it this time?
Oh, okay. You can answer after this. But I'm more curious about how do you face 2 games against the same opponent in a short span and on the same pitch. So how do you balance both without losing focus on either?
No, I don't think we're in a position to lose focus. No one is at this period of time. Everyone is fighting for something, and we have to fight really hard in the league to get in the end what we want now, and that's to qualify for Champions League. And there's an FA Cup to play for, so the focus will definitely be there. The only difference indeed is between playing each other in such short notice is that it's twice on their ground, where usually when you play in Europe you once have a home and an away game. But it is the situation we are facing now, and it's maybe the only person where it's helpful for is our analyst and myself, because usually you watch a lot of games from the opponent. Now we've done this before this one, but before the next one we probably focus mainly on one game, and that's the one of tomorrow morning. So it saves me a bit of time maybe in the upcoming days.
All right. So can you tell me?
That time will be used for Galatasaray probably. But sorry.
So can you tell me now the news about Milos and
Oh.
if you have some?
I don't think there's any news about them. They're fit, and so that's yeah. No, they're both in a good place. So both played 90 in the last game. Yeah. So ready to go again. Oh. Ooh.
It seems to be a bit of a theme this season that the top teams, or the teams towards the top end of the league, are maybe less able to exercise control no matter who they're playing against. I just wondered if you had any thoughts about kind of why that is, and do you think that the top teams will be able to get that control back more, or is this just how the Premier League is now?
Yeah. You give the answer, and then I can tell you what the Premier League is. The Premier League is now that all the teams that are playing have a lot of money and can get very good players on ages between 25 and 30, the best athletes in the world. So it's not only down to Liverpool or Chelsea or City or Arsenal or United or all the other top teams to sign big players from different leagues. This happens now with teams that are fighting for relegation as well. That's one thing, and second thing is the playing style. The playing style is hard to control if you face, and that's not only against us. So if you face long balls, it's really hard to control, because then eventually that ball, if the goalkeeper kicks it from a free kick, it will end up in your box. And usually when the team plays a low block and is really well organized, they are able to play 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a good counter attack. So that's the quality of the league, playing style, and the set pieces play a part of it as well. That is really hard to control the game, because it's really hard not to concede a throw-in in your own half. It's really hard not to concede a free kick within 80 yards of your goal. So yeah, if that ball has always been brought in, it's much more difficult to keep control over a game where in the past, and that's the recent past, teams probably didn't use so much that strategy as I'm talking about now.
You have to kind of change your approach then in terms of how to exercise that control then.
I think being a football manager throughout the years, you constantly adjust your approach towards what you are facing. But sometimes it's really hard to find a tactic about not giving away a throw in your own half, or not giving away a free kick within 80 yards of your goal. But controlling a counter attack is something you are having tools for. And that's also why I think we've done that part of our game not too bad. We haven't conceded that many counterattacks, and I don't know if we're still that team, but we were for a long time the team with the most ball possession. So yeah, then controlling the counterattack is something that you can do, and we've done that quite well in my opinion. In general, so yeah, you have to adjust to what's new, and what is new is mainly in the Premier League, the set piece part.
Last one.
Just generally on set pieces, what do you make of that reliance across the Premier League? I know you said it's a new reality, but it's obviously working for you in recent weeks. But is that a concern for you in terms of where football is heading? Or
Is that a?
Is that a concern for you in terms of where football is heading, or do you just feel like that?
Now, first of all, you have to accept. I think it's mainly here in the Premier League. If I watch other leagues, I don't think there's so much emphasis on set pieces. One of the reasons is, and that's sometimes funny for me to do, if I watch a Eredivisie game, which I still do, I see goals being disallowed or falls on goalkeepers being given. And I'm like, wow, that's a big difference. Here you can almost hit a goalkeeper in his face and the referee still says, just go on. Do I like it? My football heart doesn't like it. I already said once in this press conference, if you ask me, then thinking about football, I think about 10, 15 years ago about the Barcelona team. Every Sunday evening you were hoping that they would play. And now most of the games I see in the Premier League are not, for me, a joy to watch. But it's always interesting because it's so competitive. And that is what makes this league great, because there's so much competitiveness. Everyone can win from everyone. But just as someone who loves to watch football without being interested in who's winning or losing it, just to be enjoyed, I think there's a big difference now between 3 or 4 years ago in the Premier League. Not only because of the set pieces, also because teams have become so much stronger. So 3 or 4 years ago, when the top clubs faced the number 18, 17, 16, 15, could have been a 4 or 5 goals difference. And that's usually what you like. If there's so much difference between the teams, then one team is really good. But that's not the situation anymore. So it's not only about the set pieces. It's also because so many teams have become very strong. But we're not going to change it. So and maybe in 5 or 10 years' time, things will change again. But what I wouldn't be surprised of, if you go to an under-16 game somewhere, you know, how do you call this? Your Sunday league football? We call this amateur football in Holland. I wouldn't be surprised if you see teams completely being focused, 16-year-olds on set pieces, that's the new reality, and I have my opinion about it, but it doesn't change.
Thanks, Arne.